If this story touched your heart even just a little, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me, where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Your voice matters here. And if you're like me and crave stories that make you feel something real, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow, I'll be sharing another emotional journey, one that might just speak to your soul. So stay close, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones we didn't see coming. Claire. Bennett had always been the type of woman who noticed the little things, how the leaves shifted colors before fall truly arrived, how someone's smile faded ever so slightly when something was wrong. So when Dylan Harris, her partner of 3 years, started coming home later than usual, she noticed. At first, it was subtle. A work call that ran long, a last minute client dinner, a new cologne she didn't recognize. But then it turned into patterns. Thursday evenings suddenly filled with fake meetings. Weekends were scheduled for out-of-town trips, and moments where he'd flinch slightly if she reached for his phone. It wasn't the missed dinners or cold coffee that bothered her the most, it was the silence. The kind that builds in between people who used to tell each other everything. She tried to brush it off. They both had demanding careers. She, a marketing director, and he, a construction developer managing multiple projects across Texas. Life gets hectic, adults get tired. That's what she kept telling herself as she watched him scroll endlessly. On his phone, his smile reserved for messages she'd never read. But late one Friday night, as Claire curled up on the couch with a glass of red wine and an old movie, she noticed something that made her stomach tighten. Dylan had left his phone, charging on the kitchen counter. The screen lit up with a text. "Did you leave your jacket here again?" No name, just an unknown number. And Claire's heart sank, not because of what it might mean, but because deep down, she already knew. The next morning, over coffee, she casually asked about his schedule. He mumbled something about a meeting in Plano, said he'd be back late. No eye contact, no warmth. Claire nodded, pretending to sip her coffee while her mind raced. She needed answers, real ones. Not guesses, not instinct, not the gut feeling that kept her up at night. So she did the one thing she never thought she'd do. She called Jessie. Jessie Malone was never one for subtlety. "Girl, I told you months ago something was off," she said as she tossed on a jacket and keys. "We're fixing this today." That's when Claire remembered someone from her past. Someone who once knew her heart better than she did. Someone who became a private investigator after they drifted apart. "Do you still talk to Ethan Moore?" Claire asked. Jessie smirked. "Ethan? Oh, honey, he never stopped checking in on you." And just like that, something shifted. Claire wasn't going to sit and wonder anymore. She was going to find out the truth, even if it broke her. It took less than a week for Ethan, more to confirm what Claire had feared, but nothing could have prepared her for the truth he brought to that. Corner booth in the quiet cafe off Main Street. He arrived early, like always. Neat button-down shirt, calm energy, and a folder in his hand that Claire would come to hate. She sat across from him, her fingers wrapped around a lukewarm cup of chamomile tea, pretending not to shake. "I'm just going to say it," Ethan began, voice low, steady. "Claire, Dylan's still married." She blinked. "What?" Ethan nodded, sliding the folder across the table. Inside were printed images, time-stamped locations, public records, everything. Her name's Samantha Harris. They've been married for 10 years. They have a daughter. She's 7. His voice cracked slightly on that last word. He's been visiting them every Thursday afternoon in Plano. Same house, same time, every week. Claire felt her entire body stiffen. At first, she thought, she misheard. Maybe this was some mistake, another Dylan, another Harris, but the photos didn't lie. One showed Dylan at a school pickup, hand in hand with a little girl who looked just like him. Another was at a park, lifting her onto his shoulders. The last one? Him standing beside Samantha in front of a 2-story brick house. Not a colleague, not a client. A family. She didn't say a word for a full minute. Just stared at the photos. Like they might rearrange themselves if she looked hard enough. He told me he was divorced, she whispered, her voice barely audible. There's no divorce record, Ethan said softly. And no legal marriage record for you two in Texas? I checked everything. You had a private ceremony in West Austin, right? Number? Civil filing? Claire nodded slowly. He said it was for confidentiality because of his business. I believed him. And that was the moment it hit her, not just that she had been lied to, but that she had been the lie. She wasn't the wife. She was the other woman, the second life. The stolen time between his real home and the illusion he built with her. Her stomach turned, and she felt the sting of betrayal crawl up her throat. I'm the other woman. She muttered, more to herself than to Ethan. All this time, I thought he was mine, ... I thought I was his future. Ethan leaned forward gently, his voice firm but kind. Claire, you didn't know. You were never the villain here. He made you believe it was real. Claire wiped at her face, not even realizing she'd started. Crying, no wonder he never wanted to do a big wedding. No wonder everything had to be low-key. Her voice cracked. I planned a life with him, Ethan. A future, kids, a dog. We talked about growing old together. Ethan didn't reach for her hand. He knew her well enough to know she didn't want comfort right now. Not yet. What she needed ... was clarity ... and today, she finally had it ... Claire didn't go home that night ... she drove around aimlessly. The folder still in her passenger seat, like a ticking bomb no one could disarm. Every red light felt longer, every corner familiar yet foreign. Her world hadn't just cracked, it had completely collapsed. And yet, through the wreckage of lies and betrayal, there was a flicker of something deeper, rage. And clarity ... by 10:30 p.m., she was standing in Jesse's apartment doorway, hair unbrushed, eyes bloodshot. Jessie didn't ask questions. She just opened her arms and held her best friend until Claire's knees gave out. The next morning, Claire packed 2 suitcases. No goodbye, no explanations. She left Dylan a single note. You didn't just lie to me. You stole years from me. Don't call. She moved into Jesse's downtown Dallas condo, a high-rise overlooking the skyline. But to Claire, it might as well have been a bunker. Her days were quiet, disconnected. She took a leave of absence from work, shut off social media, ignored Dylan's calls. He tried everything flowers at the front desk, texts that started with please, and ended with, I love you. But love, she realized, isn't something you steal and still expect to be returned. I feel like a fool. Claire whispered one evening, curled up on Jesse's couch in leggings and an oversized hoodie. I built a home in a man's lie. Jesse poured another glass of wine and said what only real best friends dare to. You didn't build anything, honey. He built a stage. You just didn't know the script was fake. And somewhere in that bitterness, Claire found power. She joined therapy. She signed up for a painting class she'd always put off. She spent a weekend alone in a cabin near Broken Bow, Oklahoma, with nothing but coffee, a sketch pad, and silence. And in that silence, she found something precious, herself. Meanwhile, Ethan stayed in the background, not pushing, just checking in every now and then. A short text, a coffee dropped off, a quiet presence in a time when everything else felt too loud. You know, Jesse teased one night, he's still crazy about you. Claire smiled sadly. Yeah, but I'm not ready. I'm still in pieces. Then, take your time, Jesse said. Just don't shut out the people who never lied to you. Weeks turned into months. Claire started freelancing, redesigned her life, this time on her own terms. She no longer cried when she passed by familiar places. Instead, she reclaimed them. That brunch spot where Dylan fake promised forever, now it was where she sipped mimosas with Jesse. That beach house they once talked about retiring in. She started looking at one-bedroom rentals for solo retreats. And through it all, Ethan remained quiet, patient, present. For the first time in her life, Claire wasn't rushing to be someone's everything. She was learning to be her own, because healing isn't a finish line. It's a declaration. I will never let someone else's lies define me again. It was on the third night of her solo trip to the coast that Claire finally let herself say his name out loud, Ethan. It came out softly like a whisper in the dark, like a name that had been sitting heavy on her chest for far too long. She didn't say it because she missed him. She said it because she finally felt ready to face everything that came with that. Name the past they never had, the future they never spoke of, the feelings that had always been there, waiting in the background like the last page of a book left unread. When she got back to Dallas, she didn't rush into anything. But she did send a message. Hey, coffee? Ethan replied within minutes. Name the time. They met at the same cafe where he first told her the truth about Dylan. Only this time, there was no folder between them. Just two people who had grown enough to sit in silence and still understand each other. He looked different, not physically, but emotionally. More grounded, less guarded. Like someone who had made peace with waiting, but was still quietly hoping. So, Claire started, fiddling with the edge of her napkin. Can I ask you something? Anything, Ethan replied without hesitation. Why didn't you ever tell me? Back then, in college. Why didn't you say anything? Ethan leaned back, eyes soft, but unreadable. Because you were this blazing fire, Claire. Ambitious, passionate, beautiful, and I was the guy with his camera and his oversized hoodie, hoping you'd notice. I did notice, she whispered. He froze. I noticed every time you walked me to class. Every time you brought me coffee just the way I liked it. I noticed every time you almost said something, but held it back. I was waiting for you to speak. Ethan let out a quiet breath, one he'd been holding for years. I didn't think I was enough. Claire smiled sadly. You were. I just didn't know how to wait. They didn't kiss, not that night. There was no dramatic string swell or sudden declarations. Just a slow shift in the air like something finally clicking into place. Beginning that didn't need to be rushed. In the weeks that followed, Ethan became more present, but never overwhelming. He joined Claire on hikes, brought dinner over on rainy nights, stayed quiet when she needed space, and made her laugh when the silence became too loud. One evening, while watching the sunset from the balcony of Jesse's apartment, Claire turned to him and said, You know, I'm not ready for love again, right? Ethan nodded. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm just here if you ever want to offer something. That was the thing about Ethan Moore he never tried to. Rescue Claire. He simply stood beside her, steady and sure, as she rebuilt herself brick by brick. And maybe, just maybe, when she was done, she wouldn't be building alone. It took exactly 1 year. 12 months of growth, of laughter, of quiet nights, and hard conversations. Claire didn't rush into anything. She took her time. She learned to enjoy her own company again, to sit in silence without feeling broken. She painted. She traveled. She finally took that long postponed trip to Santa Fe and came back sun-kissed, smiling and more herself than ever before. But through all of it, Ethan was there. Never pushing, never pressuring. Just present. There were days she'd wake up to. A sticky note on her fridge. Coffee's on. See you tonight for tacos? There were nights when she cried for no particular reason, and Ivan didn't try to fix it. He just held her hand until the tears passed. And in those small, consistent gestures, Claire found something she had never experienced before. Security. Without control. Love without conditions. Then one chilly Sunday morning, as Claire strolled through a local farmer's market with her canvas tote and wind-tossed hair, her phone buzzed. It was a simple message from Ethan. Dinner tonight? My. Place. Dress warm. She smiled, not suspecting anything. By 6 p.m., she was on his porch, wrapped in a chunky sweater, a bottle of wine in hand. The lights were low, the backyard strung with soft golden bulbs, and a fire pit glowed in the corner. There was no crowd. No photographer. Just them. Smells like chili, Claire teased. As she stepped inside. Your favorite, Ethan replied, wearing that boyish grin that still made her heart stutter. After dinner, they sat on the deck in silence, mugs of hot cider warming their hands. Stars blinked above them, the Texas wind soft against their skin. Then Ethan stood. "I told myself I wouldn't do this unless you were ready," he said, voice calm but carrying something heavier. "But I realized you've been ready for a while." "You just didn't know it yet." Claire stared at him, confused, until he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Her breath caught. He didn't kneel. He didn't make a speech. He just opened it and said, "If you're still building, I want to build with you. If you're still healing, I'll hold the space while you do. And if you're ready, I want to grow old with you." Claire blinked, stunned silent. Then a slow, quiet smile curved across her face. "You really waited," she whispered. Ethan stepped closer. "Every single day." She nodded, tears falling freely now. But they weren't from pain, they were from peace. "Then yes," she said. "Let's build something honest. Together." A year later, they said their vows beneath the golden trees of the Texas Hill Country. No grand ballroom. No guest list drama. Just close friends, string lights, and promises whispered from hearts that had been broken, but never beaten, because true love doesn't always come first. Sometimes it comes right on time. If you've made it this far, thank you truly. This wasn't just a love story. It was a journey of betrayal, healing, and rediscovering one's worth. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever trusted someone so deeply, only to find out they weren't who they said they were? Have you ever walked away from a love that broke you, only to find peace within yourself? Or maybe you're still in the middle of your story. If so, I want you to know you're not alone. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me which part of Claire's journey spoke to your heart the most. Was it the moment she walked away? The quiet strength of her healing? Or the love that waited patiently for her to come home to herself? Let's build a space where stories like this remind us that healing isn't weakness, and love that waits is love that lasts. And don't forget to subscribe tomorrow. A brand new story drops. One that might just mirror something in your life. Your voice matters here, your story matters, and I can't wait to read what's in your heart.